Understanding 3D. This tutorial tries to inform you about the basic topics about 3 dimensions graphics. It's for people who never works before in 3D. Well, first of all, I should explain how we compose the objects in 3 dimensions, 3D. In the real world, all objects are tridimensional. This means that all they have a volume like a chair, a plane, a motorcycle or anything would have 3 sizes: width, length, and height. And each object occupied a space and has a defined position. So, the position and the measures are represented via a coordinate system. The Cartesian system would consist in 3 axes x, y and z. In this way is possible to represent the position and size of any object in the space. To represent a point in the space you can use this coordinate system. The coordinate system is composed by the 3 axes x, y and z, and each axis have a positive part and a negative part, and is divided in units. In 3D Studio Max you can choose the units what you want: meters in the metrical system or inches in the imperial system. The center is the point 0, 0, 0. It means the exact center of our world, and it's called the origin. You can move an object to any point in the space. For example, you want to represent the point 2, -3, 4. So this means what the point is located 2 units in the positive x-axis, 3 units in the negative y-axis, and 4 units of height on the z-axis. Now, if you locate another point, you now can create an edge. The edge is just a line between 2 points in the 3D world. If you create more edges, you can create a polygon. With another point, you can trace 2 more edges and now you have a face or a polygon. In 3D Studio Max is called face to the triangles what compose an object, and a polygon is the term for a triangle or a square what compose an object. This polygon is basically a plane in the space, in this case a triangle. With just mark another point you can trace another 2 edges, and you create another face, but this new face share an edge with the previous face. These 2 faces can create a new polygon formed by the 4 points, so this is a square, just a new 3D plane, formed by 2 triangular faces. Well, this is the way how you can define a plane in the 3D world, but believe me, in 3D Studio Max is much simpler than this, even with complex objects. This is just a way to inform you about the basic terms in the 3D world. I will show you how simple it is later. Now I will talk about how we compose the 3D objects, even the complex ones. The 3D objects are composed by polygons, faces, edges, and vertex. In the screen appear 2 objects. These 2 objects are very simple objects, and the term for this is primitives. The first one is a box, and is composed by 6 polygons, 6 squares, what united can form the box. The second object is a pyramid and is composed by 1 square and 4 triangles. These are pretty simple objects and it's easy to imagine how we're composed. In this image appears 4 objects, 3 primitives and 1 complex object. One is a box and other is a pyramid, but we already see how we're composed. Now, let's see the sphere and the motorcycle. Both are composed by polygons. The polygons are a geometrical figure composed by 3 or more lines, that create a closed shape, like triangles or squares. In the 3D graphics world as usual, just work with 2 types of polygons, the square and the most used the triangle. A group of polygons create a 3D object. Doesn't matter what object, or his complexity. But, maybe surprise you to know what a sphere in 3D is composed to by squares and triangles. Let's see it. When you take a closer look, you can figure it. So, as you can see, doesn't exist round shapes in 3D. The round effect is just because a lot of polygons create that illusion. When is reduced the count of polygons, this is most evident. And when is increased the count of polygons, the illusion of a round shape appears. At the same time, the polygons are composed by faces. The faces are triangles. Sometimes can be a little confused, because the triangles can be polygons too. The faces and the polygons are composing by edges. The edges are the lines what create the shape of each polygon. Some edges are shared between polygons. Like in the image, when you see only the edges, which is called wireframe. Is a semi-transparent representation of the structure of the object and is easy for the computer to create an image using this method. If you have a big number of polygons and edges, you will have a very detailed object. If you have a lower number of polygons and edges, the object will become not so detailed. If you have too much detail, will need a lot of computational power. If you have lower detail, the images will not look so good. So, the thing is get a balance between performance and quality. The last components are the vertex. These are just points in 3D space that indicate where starts and ends an edge. Creating lines between the vertex is the manner in which the edges are created. This is the way how the geometry of the object are composed, but for more detailed objects you can add materials. A material is a way to imitate the real-world materials, adding textures and effects. So you can imitate the way how looks the wood, the water, the ground, a wall, or anything. Just adding materials to your geometry. A material is composed by textures and effects. A texture is just a simple digital image. Just a picture. Any picture in a format what 3D Studio Max accept. The good thing is what 3D Studio Max can use a lot of types of pictures. Some formats are JPG, GIF, PNG, HDR, PSD, DDS, and others. Even video formats like MOV, MPG, AVI and more. Besides, the textures you can effects like specular, bumps, reflections, refractions, and many others. Let's see an example. Having the simple sphere we can apply a texture. We select a texture of the world. Trying to create the planet Earth. When is applied the texture doesn't look real, isn't? The first thing is fix the way how is applied the material. When is done, so I just add some effects. Like a shiny effect, only with adjust the specular level of the material and adding a light to the scene. Now looks a little better. But can looks better, now adding bump map. A bump map is the same texture, the same picture after a digital process what identifies a relief, some heights in the picture. So, the bump map looks like this. After apply this, the sphere looks like this. A little closer. And to add a final touch of realism, just adding a camera, changing the point of view, changing the background color and finally we can make something like this. This look better. And adding more and more of the simple sphere can be transformed into a good representation of the planet Earth. In the following tutorials I will show you how to use 3D Studio Max to do things like this.